Story title: The Chainsmoker. Author name: No, just no. This happened to me 6 years ago and will haunt me for the rest of my life. I grew up in one of the most densely populated neighborhoods in all of North America. The neighborhood was initially supposed to house 12,000 people, but by the time I was 12 years old, it had a population of around 30,000 people. It was one of Toronto's poorest neighborhoods, with 50% of the population being under the poverty line, though the crime rate was not nearly as high as you might have expected it to be. The neighborhood was mostly made up of immigrants and refugees looking to find a better life, my family included. It was summer break between the 5th and 6th grade, and my cousins, who happened to live in the same apartment complex, were at our place watching movies. I was getting hungry, so I grabbed some money and headed to the convenience store to get some snacks. It was around 7 p.m., so the sun was still up, and there was at least an hour and a half of light left. The convenience store was half a block away, so I walked it. When I got to the parking lot of the residential building the store was in, I noticed a man wearing a black hoodie with horizontal green stripes, standing in the corner of the parking lot. There was nothing too noticeable about the man, except that he was smoking directly under a no smoking sign. Nothing uncommon in that neighborhood, just kind of ironic. I walk up the steps and into the cramped convenience store. There might have been 7 people in there, but it looked as if it was already almost full, probably as big as a mid-sized apartment, and was already stocked up to the ceiling. Point is, if anyone enters, everyone in the store knows. So I come in, and directly to the left of the entrance is a shelf packed with many different varieties of candy. I was like any other kid who has 20 different varieties of candy laid out in front of them, but only has the budget for 2, lost in thought. At the moment, I forget about the man who was smoking. He enters through the door. He walks into the nook of the store behind me, where they keep all of the flatbread. I can feel his gaze on the back of my head. I quickly decide on the snacks, pay, and leave. I walk out, down the steps, and to the sidewalk on the other side of the narrow parking lot when I hear the chimes of the exit door. I glance behind me to see who is exiting the store, and I'm a shade under-petrified when I see the man exit the store, especially when I notice he's carrying nothing in his hands. I quicken my pace just a tad, and reason with myself that he just bought another pack of cigarettes and just put it in his pockets. That idea has barely crossed my mind by the time I'm halfway back to my building. I turn around to see he's still there. He's maybe 15 feet away from me when we make eye contact. He had his hood off, and I can see his face clearly. He looks to be maybe Afghan, but there were a lot of those around since the neighborhood was a hot spot for refugees, and at the time Afghanistan was doing really badly. He had scars covering his face, and he was balding on top. He couldn't have been too tall because he wasn't much taller than 6th grade me, so like 5'4" or 5'6". I spin back around and start to speed up, and I hear footsteps behind me quicken. By the time we got to the D-shaped driveway to my building, we were speed walking. Remember, it's broad daylight, and there are plenty of people around, and a man chasing a kid around is weird to anybody. As soon as we hit the split in the sidewalk, which separates the driveway and the straight path, I start sprinting at full speed to my building. Luckily, there was someone buzzing in that exact moment, and I slipped in the door behind him. I quickly whirl around and pull the pneumatic glass door shut. When I look up, I see the man, seconds too late, on the other side of the glass. The look on his face still scares me. He stared at me with an expression of anger I had never seen before, nor have I ever seen since. I run to the elevators and push the button. he starts rattling the door. The expression on his face was sinister. When the elevator comes, he understands that he won't catch me. He leaves the same way we came. Personal thoughts. This is one of those experiences that even as I'm narrating, I feel like I'm on the edge of my seat. Obviously you do get away, or maybe not. Maybe he actually would have kidnapped you and then you get away later. But I'm glad the story ended with you just getting away. But damn, that must have been so stressful. Can you imagine that? You're just a kid trying to get some candy, but the neighborhood isn't exactly the nicest place. Although you did mention the crime rate wasn't too high. So, especially in broad daylight, you don't expect to just be chased by some man. And the last line you wrote, that he left the way he came. You can be damn sure he wasn't in the area to just take in the sights. No, he was after you. There was no other reason to follow and then leave the same way he came. If you did get clear enough sight of his face, then perhaps you could have went to the police and tried to have a face sketch drawn. But it's okay. You got away. That's what counts. Well, that's a conclusion of this little Let's Not Meet story. These are indeed frightening, especially since they're so real and so vivid in how they're written. Have you ever been chased by some stranger before? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like.